Inspired by kingdom principles that work for you.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Good Eats. I am your host, and my name is Oscar Stuart, and I want to thank you all for tuning in to the show once again. This particular episode is near to heart and dear to me for a few reasons. And so before I call in my guest today to interview this young man, I would like to say that sometime back we had a show on composting. Now that we are about to get into the holiday season, Christmas and all being right around the corner, people are more conscious of quite a number of things: health, food, exercise, and the environment. So I guess most persons are not able to have the big Christmas parties and things that people are normally used to around this time of the year. So, however, we still have to take safety into consideration, all the protocols for this pandemic that is still among us. Composting and the environment is one of my favorite subjects as it relates to agriculture, and it's very important to me. And I know the environment, waste management is important to you all. We have global warming, and so it's important to even be more cognizant as it relates to the environment in many different aspects. And so today we're going to discuss composting, waste management, and the environment, but with a little different twist to it. As this season of Good Eats winds down for me, I do intend in the following upcoming season to implement a series of shows on young persons, those in college, those in high school who are considering going into the agricultural field and industry. I must admit that I am elated about it. To me, it says something about the future of the country, the direction that we are heading for, the amount of young persons that I have spoken and interacted with that is getting into the agricultural field. But from different aspects, it's quite amazing and phenomenal, actually, that these persons are not just seeing the produce side of it going on the field and planting. And recently I've met a number of young persons through composting in a workshop seminar that my former guest and AICA representatives held, Dr. Abiola and Miss Shikara Lightborn. And so those individuals opened the door here for the composting seminar and workshop, which was well attended. And surprisingly to me, I was fortunate to see the young persons that are getting into this field. And so today, I'm going to have a young man who has just recently returned here from the Bahamas out of university in Ohio, who is taking composting and waste management and the environment to heart. And I think these young persons do intend to make a difference here in the Bahamas. And so I want to discuss the diversity of agriculture and the future of this industry here in the Bahamas. So before I call in my guest, I just would like to take a quick break and we'll return with you in a few seconds. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. My guest today is a young man very close to me, a highly intelligent young man, and very ambitious. And I found it amazing that he chose this field because to me, it says something about the future of this industry, not just worldwide, but here in the Bahamas, to see these young persons going in this direction and choosing this as a career. And this young man is a native of Grand Bahama, Bahamas. He holds a degree in environmental science and health safety from Columbus State in Columbus, Ohio. He is certified in wastewater treatment operation and environmental hydrology, as well as occupational health and safety. Wow, I like that. And so my guest today is young man, Mr. Brandon Bowe.
Hello.
Good day, Brandon. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on today.
Yes, I thank you for being here. And I want you to know I am truly excited about this because me and you being so close, you and I always being close, I am still stunned and shocked to know that this is the field you chose as a career because I didn't see it coming. And but I know you're an ambitious young man. I know you're an intelligent young man. So I know that if you choose this particular field to venture into, that you must see something beneficial in it, not only for the country or for yourself, but for young people in general who may also decide to go in this direction in the future. And obviously, you must think it's very lucrative because I know you're all about the money too. So, first and foremost, let me ask you, because now I have the opportunity to ask you, what got you interested in composting and waste management?
Well, a few things. You're right. I definitely it was money.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because I gotta listen to you now. You're the one with the degree.
Yeah. So one of my professors in school would always say, if you want to make money, do something with the water and the environment. But when I first was growing up here in the Bahamas, a lot of times I'd be curious about the environment, curious about nature. I'm a pretty observant person, usually always analyzing my surroundings. So I'd have a lot of questions about a lot of things. I grew up during the time we had more hurricanes, I should say, than what was around from before me. So that would always leave me a few questions like, we'd always deal with the water quality afterwards, the state of life and the environment always shift and change. It would always amaze me how bright the skies would be at night after a hurricane, as if, the universe knew it was no power and the stars would just light up everywhere. We had
that's interesting. I wonder how much people would have taken note of that.
It was always fascinating to me. It always definitely amazed me, just watching the environment change. Mostly, one of my first jobs out of high school was I worked at one of the industrial companies over here, and they had a lot of environmental things happening there. And just one day, just from a business side, like I say, money, I just was thinking, I wonder what people do with chemicals or the environment after this changes. So I wonder how they make money from this. How they make money from this. and how me as a young person, because at the time I had no idea I would even pursue college, but as a young person, how can I shift that in my favor to make it profitable and to grow it, not only for me, but to hopefully create an environmental industry that I didn't see was present here on the island.
Brandon, I like that. That's interesting that you mentioned that, because Grand Bahama Island here in the Bahamas is known as the industrial island, or capital as we put it, of the Bahamas. Most of the industrial companies here. And so waste management is critical. Like you said, how do they dispose of these chemicals and that's left over? And a lot of people here have concern about oil drilling and stuff and oil spill. And we would have heard this recently after Hurricane Dorian, people disposing of oil illegally and other toxic matters. So it's very interesting that you mentioned that. How do you see that moving forward, that using that as your stepping stone to want to get into that field of the aspect of waste management? How the impact and how lucrative do you see that can be to you and us here in the Bahamas, Bahamians as a whole?
I think, waste management is definitely a area that hasn't been traversed before. I think we, as a people, don't really understand how profitable it can be, and also how much we can help the environment by taking part in it. A lot of times people just dispose of, anything everywhere. Having lived in the US for about 6 years, I did a lot of different training, a lot of different hands-on classes. And a lot of it was centered around, even procedures on how to dispose of a cell phone battery, and how important that was and how serious they took that. And I feel that if we had the knowledge of how we can best go about doing these things and how easy it is, I should say, you can take something and turn it into something else, how easily it is you can recycle it. And a lot of people think of recycling as, you take a cup, wash it out, use it again, it's recycled. But I'm talking about even in the cases of recycling vegetable oil and turn it into biodiesel. We have a lot of trucks on the island now after the hurricane, and that's something that people can do in their backyard, believe it or not. So
okay.
Something like that can be done if we have the knowledge to do it. But also, it doesn't take a college degree to do it. And I think that's the most important thing, that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to go off to school, but they can find a way to do it here.
Wonderful. My thing now is this, that because most persons look at that waste management stuff as dirty business, to the sense of it's nasty when you think about landfill and recycling and stuff, right? But like you say, that is money, and it can be very lucrative, and it is, as a matter of fact. But what I'm more interested in your studies, how did you find technology and science would have made that easier for those getting into that field, where we could change the mindset or the stigma, so to speak, of it just being a dirty business? How can we get young persons to see that it don't necessarily have to be that?
I think, for one, it'll probably start with the schools, being able to teach the younger kids that, from the elementary school level. I know when I was in high school, we did science, but it was mostly like a general science class. I don't know if the curriculum has changed, but if I had the knowledge or even introduced to the concept of waste management at an early age, I feel like that would have definitely changed my outlook on that. I think, making it the people understand how beneficial it is for them, from a government standpoint,
Yeah.
campaign or something to really highlight the benefits of waste management, to try and take away the stigma of a dirty job per se.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also goes back to the money. People understand this isn't something that they're going to just be doing and not going to make a profit off of. I think that'll really help.
Brandon, it's very interesting that you mentioned the money part about it, because I'm not going to leave that out before we finish the show, because it's all about money, and money is something that everybody basically interested in for one reason or another.
Exactly.
But before we get there, let's tie in that waste management and recycling into composting, because the compost actually comes from the waste.
Yes.
All these things with people throwing away and disposing of, and all this garbage per se. And as you mentioned, after the hurricane and all these, because I already did 2 previous shows with it from a doctor, and he's sort of certified in the same field you're in, but he's much, much more experienced. He had over 40 plus years in the business. So I'm tying you in to see now that as a young person still coming in. And so that's good to see a young Bahamian as yourself getting into this field. So tell us now how composting would benefit individuals as a whole, Bahamians, because we know composting can benefit, for instance, that's something they can also do in their backyard if they're farming or gardening.
Mm-hmm.
But tell us, as what you see, how it can benefit the island here of Grand Bahama and throughout the Bahamas by extension.
Okay, well, really good question. First of all, this is a very industrial island. Over the years, there's been a lot of contamination in different areas because of the hurricane. We just had the oil spill situation just happen. And a lot of times composting is mostly used. Anytime people think of it, they think about it agriculturally. But a lot of people don't know that composting can actually be used as a filter to filter out a lot of those contaminants that end up in the soil after an oil spill. After a dumping area has been cleared out, that's been illegally dumping there for years. In some ways, it can even be used as a buffer for the sea level, rising. It just depends on what materials are used in that compost. If one's, want to get on a larger scale for farming, we have a wastewater treatment plant here, I think is run by the Port Authority. And at the end of that wastewater treatment process, usually dewatered sludge is produced.
Yeah.
And that sludge is, heavily concentrated, a lot of nitrogen, phosphorus stuff. That can be mixed in with, almost, everyday sand, soil, and that can be altered to, spread in various different locations. Composting is amazing. It's great. We have a lot of water runoff here because of the tropical climate. You have a lot of different mechanic shops. People don't really understand how easy it is. You drop your oil pan in your car, let the oil drain down. It could rain right afterwards. You didn't get a chance to clean it up.
Yeah.
That can affect the environment in a major way. Composting, even with that, can help alter, protect the soil qualities, because the earth is more like a filter. And as, water, rain, everything gets into the ground and it seeps down, it eventually ends up in the groundwater aquifer, which they pull water from, depending on which well they use, for what we call tap water or potable water.
Yeah.
So that's a much bigger scale than people think about, but I think that's something that really needs more attention brought to it, not only for this island that's heavily industrial, but the Bahamas, because I feel like even with composting and environment, tourism is big here, but something we've never really explored is ecotourism, and being able to protect the environment to eventually one day pursue ecotourism on a larger scale will be really important and beneficial.
Brandon, this is magnificent what you're saying, because now you're really tapping into what I wanted to as relates to the diversification of this agricultural field, because now tying in this composting, ecotourism, it is a lot of discussion going on here now in the Bahamas of agriculture and agritourism. And so they're discussing heavily marrying these two industries per se. And so now with the ecotourism thing, like you're saying, and that I think that is beautiful. And most persons nowadays are big into the ecosystem and clean environment and green environment and stuff. So I think that is very commendable that you would see that aspects in that to go into that field. Tell us, how important do you see, in your opinion, would it be for the island overall to really take these aspects into consideration? Because this particular episode now is really touching me. I hope there are those out there, the powers to be, per se, government official, those in Port Authority, who would listen to this and just take it into consideration, hearing what young persons have to say, so it could be beneficial to not only this island moving forward in the future, but the country, because the older ones have to make the effort to leave something behind for the younger ones and to assist them and going in this direction. That is vital. So tell us how, in your opinion, that you could see how important and beneficial this would be for the island and the Bahamas as a whole overall.
I think the scale it can be is, I think, in my opinion, I think it can definitely rise to one of our number one industries, or even the top of our industry. I think as the Bahamas as a whole really greatly underestimate the potential of their environment. You know, everybody else in the world appreciates it above and beyond.
Yes.
You know, speaking from my own personal experience, I never really appreciated the beach until I was thousands of miles away. It felt like a fish in the water.
Till you was in the U.S. all them 6 years and couldn't go on the beach when you was ready.
And you know, I would take classes. You know, my geology professors would be amazed. They'd be fascinated. Oh, you're from the Bahamas? And they'd show me a jar of sand. You know? Study this.
And now you know why tourism is so big to this country, because there are many persons who don't live or don't get the opportunity to see the beach. But it's interesting because now we can give these tourists more to offer than just the beach and the sun. And we can let them see the Bahamas as a whole and the Bahamians from a different perspective. Now, Brandon, this show is only a half hour show and it's kind of short. So before we wrap up, I want to make mention of two things. Number one, your culinary skills that you have picked up, well, you know, from your grandmother, my mother. Yes, people, Brandon is actually my nephew. So I know you did a lot of cooking to support yourself, pay bills and finance while you were there in school in the US. And so you now know the importance of composting, soil amendment to make good product. So tell us how important now all of this really makes to tie in for farmers.
Especially in the case of farmers, you know, especially in the case of the Bahamas, especially in the case of Freeport. You know, people don't give two thoughts about walking aside and stepping on the ground. You know, but that ground, that earth, is what we really need to grow the best quality, you know, fruits and vegetables that we have. You know, being a chef, you know, trying to go to the store and source fresh ingredients, healthy ingredients.
Yes.
You know, those can get, you know, extremely expensive, especially if we're importing them.
Yeah, which we are.
We can grow those here. When I was younger growing up, I had friends who had, huge avocado trees in their backyard, and it blew my mind that I went to America and the avocado was $3 because I couldn't believe it. I was accustomed to throwing those at the wall, so just think of that.
Yeah. Avocados is a huge seller. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you something. It's something that I've been considering farming in abundance because, like I say, they just huge sellers. People love avocados and people love guacamole.
Yes.
And it's not cheap. The avocados are not cheap, even in the food. So even though we here in the Bahamas, like you say, we take it for granted because most persons we know have an avocado or 2 trees in their yard. So we don't see that until we have to go in the food store and buy them. Or you want to go buy some nachos and you have to pay $1.50 extra for some guacamole for a little small thing of that. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Now, let's talk the money.
The money.
Once again, yes, the Greeks, as I call it. So this industry now, this waste management, composting, environmental cleaning, like I said, I know that you're an ambitious young man, and I know you like money. So naturally, you have to see very financial benefits of this industry. So just say to any young persons that will be watching this show, this particular episode here, that they show them how, in your opinion, that you see all the financial benefits in these fields and diversified moving forward.
Well, for me, as a young person, and for everybody watching, I kind of think out of the box. So it's a little different for me, as also can tell. I usually spend most of my days thinking of ways to make money. And
yeah, I know.
That's how I feel. But as a young person, we have to be really aware of our surroundings. That's number one. We have a lot of different industries on the island, and it can be the smallest thing. The smallest thing. For example, a car. We have cars everywhere, old tires everywhere. You can take something like that and use Google, people. Google is your friend. I'm a professional Googler. I help you graduate. Professional Google helps you graduate. You can take
that's a different subject because Google is something I just actually laid down this morning thinking a lot about that. That this young generation now, the millennials, and this generation now, no offense to y'all, but it's hard to tell you guys anything now because you got Google. So all you do is go in on the phones or the laptops and you go into Google and that's gospel. But I want y'all to know, there's still a lot of things Google don't know. Now that's a different subject and we'll get into that another day.
I do ask my mom, for me, she just yesterday. So please use the older people, uncles, aunts, parents, grandparents. What industry was here before? We have a lot of buildings that are, empty. What was in this building? What things do you remember from your childhood that was prominent, environmentally wise? And it'll help you pick up little niche ideas or something you can introduce back into the island, into the country, because you really never know. You really never know. A lot of things haven't been documented here from a history perspective, from what we have. So you really won't get that knowledge unless you speak to an older person who can tell you about the pine industry that was here, decades ago.
Yeah, it's very good. Very good. Brandon, incredibly, I think we have already hit a half hour. Yes. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
And I have questions here that I ain't even get around to asking you yet. So it's amazing, and you seem to be very knowledgeable and informed with your information and are well detailed with it. I commend you once again very much for that, and for this field that you decide to venture into, this composting and waste management has quickly became like one of my most absolute favorite subjects and topic. And it is definitely something that I too am venturing to. So naturally we'll have some more collaboration. And probably I may even have to have you back again to do a follow-up to cover some things that we didn't even kind of scratch the surface, just the tip of the iceberg. So let me just say thank you very much, Brandon, for being here on Good Eats. I appreciate. I feel as if you have dropped some nuggets here to this table. Very good for anybody that will be listening. And we just got to get that information out to the right masses and the right air. So thank you very much for being here, Brandon.
Okay, thank you so much for having me, Good Eats.
Yes, yeah. We'll do it again. We'll do it again for sure.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you. There you go, folks. Mr. Brandon Bowe. Young man seemed to have his knowledge together. So I guess Google helped him a bit too, but he knows what he's saying and he's headed on the right path. We'll be back in just a brief moment. Okay, folks, that was a great show. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I am very happy to see young persons going in this direction and taking an interest in the country and the island that they live on, their surroundings, and to want to play a pivotal role in the upgrade of the island, the country, and the people on the whole. That's it. My time winding down. Let me get into the quick segment, what's in my cup. And that show, like I say, that was just refreshing to me. So I have decided to put something nice and refreshing in my cup. And for those that be watching and that say, yes, because I actually had some person tell me they want to see me drink what's in the cup, okay? So take a look. Nice, cool, refreshing. What's in this cup? These products go right here. Plentiful in the Bahamas. And if we can continue to do proper waste management, recycling, and composting, we could continue to grow great quality products here in the Bahamas to benefit us in many reasons. Thank you everybody for tuning into the show today. I hope you enjoyed it. Whoever wants to take a shot at what's in the cup, you know what to do. Go leave your comments on the YouTube. And you can see our winners. Tune in to our RBN page. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you again next week on Good Eats.
You're watching RBNTV. We are networking, promoting, we're scoring points for you, proclaiming, declaring, and to encourage you. No matter the problem, we will enlighten you. We hear you, please listen. There is a point of view. You're watching RBNTV. We're transforming minds, empowering lives, inspired by kingdom principles that work for